Self-awareness is a superpower. Thank you for visiting Soul and Vibration. This video is about the houses, and I'm also gonna go as far as telling you a little bit about what happens when there are certain signs in each house and planets. You guys have been asking me questions about what if I have this in this house or that planet in that house, so I hope you are excited about this video just as much as I am. So before I go into the houses, I want to explain it to you in a way that you will, so you can have a certain idea in your head to help you understand it a little bit more if you're new to astrology. So for example, the house, you can consider the houses as so imagine a movie set, right? So the house would be the scene that a certain scene that's going to deliver a certain kind of message. Like for example, when I say a scene, imagine we're shooting a movie and we are creating a romantic scene. So with this romantic scene, we might have like a dinner table set up with roses and candles and, you know, like nice lighting and things like that. So the house is the movie scene, the set, how everything is set up. And the planets are the actors. You know, that is the action that is taken. Like they're the actors, and the zodiac signs are the costumes. So imagine the planets as actors or energies expressing itself through the sign, which is a costume. So for example, Mars might be the actor, and Mars is action oriented. Mars is pretty much that soldier, that CEO, could be a little bit aggressive at times, but Mars is actually wearing the costume of Virgo. So even though Mars is all those things that I just explained, because this energy is filtering through the Virgo costume, Mars is going to take action in a more calculated way, in a more strategic way. And Mars won't like being in the Virgo costume because Mars likes to act right now, like yesterday. But in the Virgo costume, Mars is gonna have to slow all that down and deal with the details. So yeah, I hope me running through all that gave you a good example of the houses. So the houses is the house is the scene, and the planets are the actors on the set and within the scene, and the sign is the costume that they're wearing. So the way the energy is filtered through and expressing itself within the scene. I hope you guys caught on to that. Hope that made sense. Before we get into the houses, it is important that you know that in order for you to find your house placements, you will need to know your exact time of birth. You'll need to know where you were born and your exact time of birth along with your date of birth in order to know your exact placements. And you can sit with an astrologer and they can help you to figure out your house placements if you don't know exactly what time you were born. If you find that you have a lot of planets in one house opposed to another house, what that may mean is that wherever there's a lot of planets mean that there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of gravitational pull. So automatically it will be natural that you will spend a lot of time and energy in these houses, where the houses that are empty will be the houses that you spend less time. It's like having a mansion, and there you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, you spend a lot of time in the bathroom, and you spend a lot of time hosting in the living room. But then there's other rooms in the house that you spend absolutely no time at all. Wherever you don't have planets, you might want to start looking into those houses and also growing to be comfortable with the energies within those houses, because wherever there are the planets, like naturally our attention is going to be brought to those houses on a regular basis. But where there isn't any planets, I don't think you want to completely ignore those houses. You want to add balance to your life by getting to know the energy within those houses, because chances are that energy is operating in a way that's affecting your life in one way or the other, and you're probably not aware of it. So let's get into the houses. The third house rules Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. The third house shows how we communicate. And the way that we communicate and gather information is pretty much influenced by our community. The third house also rules our siblings and our community, the community that we grew up in, the friends from school that we didn't choose. So basically the third house represents the community that you didn't choose. You know, you were born into it. And that plays a big part with how you gather information and how you communicate. You know, what I love about astrology is that it helps me to realize that it's almost like, yes, so it doesn't control everything about our lives, but it just shows that we did choose our parents and our circumstances, because it's like life is a stage and we're all actors, and the scenes and the roles and things are already set up. And to the part where, you know, our community influences the way how we gather information and communicate, it's almost as if these people are automatically set in place to influence us in ways, positive or negative, to get us to think in ways that's going to fit the sign that's here, that's going to fit whatever that's happening here. So yeah, I think it's interesting how astrology shows that pretty much, you know, it's destined. Not that it's destined as in we have no control, because I feel like the more aware we become, we have the power to not be controlled by these energies. But when we are unaware, yes, these energies do control us. And in the beginning, we are unaware, so these energies do control us. But back to the third house. So the third house is the house of communication and how we gather information. Having Aries here shows that when it comes to communication, you might communicate as someone who is a bit harsh or even aggressive, because Aries is a cardinal fire energy. So you might like to get straight to the point in your communication. And with you needing to get straight to the point in your communication, you might seem a little harsh. With this house having to do with your siblings and friends, like you might find that your relationship with your siblings are one that is a bit impulsive, in the sense that it's like, it might be a bit competitive, you know, because Aries is a competitive sign. So you might even communicate in a competitive way, having Aries here. And when it comes to information, you might not like to waste your time on fluff. You like to get straight to the point. Like even probably sitting through this video and getting to this point probably took a lot out of you. You were probably like, girl, get to the damn point, having Aries here. Having Taurus here, you value information that is, you value facts. You value facts. And what is challenging for me when it comes to that is I believe that some facts are obvious, you know, but then a lot of what we consider facts are nothing more than collective agreements. Enough people came together and said, this is what it is. So for the rest of us, we've learned to accept that as a fact, and that's what it is. So yes, with Taurus here, you value facts. You probably might be slower in communicating, or you might be slower in learning, but at the same time, once you've learned something, you've really learned it. And I forgot with Aries here, you might be quick when it comes to information. Like I said, quick, wanting things to just happen fast. But back to Taurus. yeah, you might be a little bit slower when it comes to learning and gathering information and communication, but once you've learned it, you've really learned it. And what can be challenging with having Taurus here is that once you've learned it, but then things are always changing. So once you've learned something and then to find out that that's no longer the truth or that's no longer a fact, that might be really challenging for you. Having Taurus here shows that the friends, your earlier childhood friends and even siblings are ones that you might hold on to, because with Taurus being such a stable and fixed energy, you know, you might have you might hold on to your childhood friendships and hold on to a good relationship with your cousins and siblings and whatnot. And even if you don't hold on to the relationship with them, they mean a lot to you, and it may have took you a long time to get to the point where you've moved on from a relationship with your siblings or community or whatnot, because Taurus is such a slow moving sign. Having Gemini here says that you are very quick when it comes to gathering information. You are a quick learner, you are probably a quick speaker, and it is also possible too that you might be so quick that earlier in life you might have had challenges when it comes to learning or speaking or communicating, and this was because your mind was so fast moving. So yeah, it could work out where your mind is so fast moving where you learn things so quickly, or maybe you may have had challenges learning things because your mind moves so quick. Gemini being ruled by Mercury, and Mercury also being known as a trickster, you might find that you may be tricky. If you choose to, you might able to talk people into whatever it is that you want to talk them into, or talk them out of whatever it is that you want to talk them out of. And having Gemini here also shows that when it comes to gathering information, you don't really care about the details of stuff. It's more of like okay, it's like, because your mind moves so quickly and you get bored so quickly, it's almost like you'll be the type of person who purchases the book and you might read the table of content and feel like you know enough and don't see the need to read the rest of the book. And you might know enough just from reading the table of content, or read a few pages and get bored. Having Cancer here is similar to having Taurus here, meaning that basically the way you communicate and gather information might be in a way that is a little bit slower than others. And at the same time, the way you gather information and communicate, it might be like secretive in a way, because Cancer, similar to Scorpio, is an energy that is very secretive and mysterious. So you might appreciate information that is, you know, that is a little bit hidden, a little bit secretive and mysterious and whatnot. And at the same time, you value information having to do with your home and family. So you might watch or you might listen to podcasts or gather information that tells you how to be a better homemaker, how to take better care of your family, how to be a better wife, husband, a better sister, brother, whatnot. It's like information that adds value to your home, your family, is super important to you. And yeah, that's with having Cancer here. Having Leo here, you will appreciate probably singing and communicating in ways that's maybe a bit theatrical to others listening in. The way you communicate is of someone, you communicate like someone with authority. You communicate like in a kingly and queenly way, and you value information that pretty much adds value to you, a value to how you can be better in your communicating, in your speaking, in your arts, if you are a creative person, if you like to express yourself that way. Having Scorpio here, the way you communicate is very strategic. You are very thoughtful about what you say before you say it. You value information that is secretive, information that is hidden. And just as how you value that information, that's how you also communicate. Having Sagittarius here, you communicate in an open and free way that is optimistic, and at the same time you communicate like a philosopher, someone who has experienced things, been places, and even maybe someone who is well read, because you like to gather information about other cultures and other ways of lives, and you like to communicate that. Having Capricorn here, you might be earlier in life, you may have had speech impediments or trouble communicating or whatever, but as you mature, you became great at communicating. And at the same time, when you communicate, you might communicate as someone with authority. Having Aquarius here, you gather information that is unique. You like to gather information about things that other people aren't really into and that other people don't talk about as much. So topics like astrology, tarot, things that would be considered to be taboo would be the things that you would like to gather information about. And at the same time, you also like to gather information about helping other people and just being a humanitarian overall. I forget mentioning with Scorpio, Scorpio is similar to this, not the humanitarian side, but Scorpio also likes to gather information that has to do with the occult and mysticism and things that are hidden. Back to Aquarius, the way how you guys gather information and express yourself is ways that is unlike others, you know, so there is no consistent way in the way you communicate. I feel like the way you communicate might be similar to Gemini in the sense that it's like you are able to just like move from here to there, but at the same time, just the way you communicate and gather information is unlike everyone else, you know, but at the same time, it's like you have a very interesting mind and way of seeing the world based on your information, based on your experiences, and that plays a huge part in the kind of information that you gather. Another thing too with Aquarius being here, maybe in your earlier childhood or whatever, you might find that in your community, like you may have felt rejected by your community, or you may have felt rejected or ignored by your siblings. Having Pisces here, the kind of information that you're into are ones that, you know, mysticism. You might be into learning about fairies and leprechauns, just things that are more imaginative and fairy tale and mystic, like, you know, things that aren't that serious, things that allow you to escape in your imagination and just enjoy your subconscious mind, enjoy the mystical parts of reality. That's the kind of information that you like to collect and gather. And those are the things that you also like to communicate about. Having Libra here, because I think I missed Libra, so let me go back. Having Libra here, you like to pretty much, you might like to speak about law or learn about law. Having Libra here, you like to gather information that has to do with justice and balance and fairness. The way you communicate might be in a way that pretty much you communicate in a way that offends no one, because you communicate in a way to where you're able to put yourself on both sides of a situation. So when you communicate, your communication style is one where other people are able to relate to what you're saying without taking offense to anything that you're saying. Having Virgo here shows that you like to pretty much communicate in a way that it's like you focus on the details. You like to gather information that is detail oriented. You like to gather information pretty much that makes sense. Information that you can use information that you can apply to yourself to turn around and be of service to others, having Virgo here. Having Mars here says that pretty much the way you gather information and communicate, very similar to Aries. You probably are seen as someone who is aggressive in your speech, like you're aggressive in the way that you talk, or just aggressive, like you like to get straight to the point. You have no time for the fluff, and it might be a bit intimidating to others. And similar to Aries, your childhood may have been one that is competitive with your siblings or even your friends at school. You may have experienced a lot of competition. Having Venus here, it's like you might like reading romantic novels. You might like, you know, like guys or girls who whisper sweet nothings into your ear. Like you might be the type of person that likes a smooth operator, or maybe you are a smooth operator having Venus here. It's like you know exactly what to say, when to say. Like it's like basically you might be very seductive in your speech having Venus here. And your early relationship with your community, friends, or your early community, friends, and even siblings may have been one where pretty much, you know, you enjoyed good times with them, because you probably think back to your early days, childhood and whatnot, and you probably got along with everyone because the way you communicate, it made people just want to be around you and want to hear you speak. Having Mercury here, you like information, you like to communicate, you like to learn for the sake of learning. Your early childhood and relationships with your siblings may have been one where maybe, you know, possibly like similar to Gemini being here, you may have been known to, I don't know, be able to be so strategic when it came to communicating that you knew how to get your way when it came to the people around you, because you knew how to communicate on levels that, you know, it takes some people a lifetime to mature into, and this just came super easy for you. Having the moon here, you like to communicate about, similar to Cancer, you like to learn, you like to communicate and gather information about things having to do with the mother, the home, and how to overall nurture others. But at the same time, wherever the moon is, it shows that there's a lot of darkness in this chart. So the moon rules our subconscious mind, so it shows that there's a lot that might be hidden from us. So the way how you communicate might be hidden from you, in the sense that having the moon here, you might say something and then you might be shocked when someone come back and said, this is what you said. And you might say, I didn't say that, and genuinely don't remember saying that until they play a recording of you saying it, and you're like, oh wow, I did say that. You know, so your own speech might be a bit hidden from you. And when it comes to learning, maybe you might have even had a hard time learning at one point, because with the moon here being that this part of your life may be in darkness. And another thing too, it's like your relationship with your siblings might be one that it's like it might be one that it's like you spend most of your life with them, but at the same time they're somewhat strangers to you in a way. Your community that you grew up in and your friends, it's like you know them, but in a way they're somewhat strangers to you in a way, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's the moon there. Having the sun here makes you almost like a Gemini. So similar to Leo, you like to gather information overall, but you probably like hearing about yourself or learning about yourself or just speaking about yourself. And having the sun here, similar to having Leo here, your relationship with your siblings is super, super important to you. Even if you guys didn't get along or don't have a close relationship, they are super important to you. Having Pluto here says that basically when it comes to your speech, you like to communicate about things. You like to communicate or learn about secrets, things that are hidden from the masses. And you would probably make a great motivational speaker as far as speaking about transformation, because Pluto is all about transformation, and you like to learn and communicate about things that has to do with transformation. You also like to learn and communicate about secrets, if I didn't say that already. Having Jupiter here, amazing motivational speaker, because you will be someone super optimistic and big picture thinking and motivating when it comes to your speech. It's like you have the ability to encourage others with the way that you communicate, and at the same time, it's like, yeah, encourage and motivate others and help them to see the big picture with the way that you communicate. Having Uranus here might mean that you may experience a lot of sudden and unexpected changes when it comes to the information that you gather and the things that you say. So what that means to me is that you might change your mind easily. So because you change your mind easily, you might change your speech easily. And because of that, you know, you might have experiences where people are like, what do you mean exactly? Last week you said this week you're saying that. Like, which one is it? You know? So that's something to consider with Uranus here. Having Neptune here will mean that basically when it comes to communication and speech, you might like to talk about things that other people might find to be like not realistic, meaning like you might want to gather information about, you know, like fairies and dragons and things like that, and speak about things like that, or speak about like comic books and cartoons and fantasy and sci-fi and things like that. Gather information about sci-fi and just different things that we would consider fiction will be the things that you like to gather information about and speak about. Wherever Neptune is also shows the part of our chart that is hidden, or we look through rose-colored glasses. So your relationship with your community and the relationship with your siblings might be one that is a bit unrealistic, in the sense that you might not, for years, you might realize that the way you saw your siblings aren't who they really are. Like, say for example, you grew up in a family and your siblings were horrible people, or your community was a horrible place, but for a long time you saw it as the opposite. And it wasn't until like your adult life, like, you know, something click and you take this mental ride down memory lane, only to realize like, oh my goodness, all along they're, you know, the way how I've been seeing them is totally opposite from who they really are. Having the North Node in the 3rd house means that you are aspiring to become a better speaker, communicator, someone who is all about or for the community, someone who is focused on information and learning a little bit about different kinds of information. You know, someone who is community oriented, like I said, and also someone who has, or, you know, is all about their siblings and just overall information, you know, learning and communicating, and probably doing multiple things at once with the North Node here. With the South Node here, this means that basically you are someone who has spent a lot of your past life or earlier life focused on your siblings and your community, and just your siblings and community, and that means your north node is in the 9th house. So you are aspiring to learn about other people's cultures. You're aspiring to pretty much leave your community, leave your small town, and learn more about the world outside of the world that you have always known your entire life. So guys, this was my very quick rundown. There is no way I could have included everything and keep this video as short as possible, because I have to keep in mind that like it is hard for people to pay attention and sit through a lot of long information lately. So with that in mind, I try to make it as quick as possible and give you a little taste. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was another helpful video. Please be sure to like this video. Please share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I look so forward to seeing you in the next video.